And joining us on the line, it is great to be finally having a chat to him. I've been wanting to speak to him for a long time, but we've finally managed to connect up, and that is the very talented Angus Gill. G'day, Angus. How you doing today?
Hey, Clayton. Doing pretty good. How about you?
Doing all right, my friend, doing all right. I've been hanging out to chat to you, especially when because your new album, the last time I spoke to you, you were heading towards it, and you wouldn't give me a lot about it, but now it's out, it's there, so you cannot hide from it now. But firstly, what's this about with your album? What's this 3 number ones with it? I don't understand. What are the 3 number ones?
Yeah, well, the album went to number 1 on the ARIA Australian Country Charts. And we also had the AIR charts. It went to number 1. Yep. So the AIR is the Australian Independent Recording Association, something like that. And so that's across all genres. So it was number 1 alongside Kylie Minogue and all sorts of people. Yep. So it was great to see that. And we also had the new single Whittling Away go to number 1 on the Australian Country Radio chart. So it's been a very exciting couple of weeks.
Excellent stuff. Congratulations, my friend. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Very much deserved, Angus. Very much deserved. And now,
thank you.
This new album, it's called The Scrapbook. And when you said to me in the past that your love of bluegrass and you're going to bring that to everyone, to be honest, I was a bit sort of like, oh dear, what is he doing? What's he smoking? What's he drinking? What's going on up there? Has he been getting into that lolly juice they've got in Queensland? What's going on? But when it landed, and I've listened to it, and I've listened to it repeatedly, I'm starting to enjoy bluegrass. So, Angus, what have you done to me?
So you weren't a bluegrass fan?
No. To be honest, whenever people talk about bluegrass, I know there's good songs in there, but it would just make me think of those like dueling banjos and the hills of Alabama and all that, and it just wasn't sort of my cup of tea. But because I know how talented you are, I wanted to see. Okay, I want to have respect for the talent, and I want to hear it and see what happens. And, more the power to you. Not worthy, my friend, not worthy, because you've made a convert.
Well, that's good to hear. I'm glad, because, look, I've loved bluegrass music for a long time. The first bluegrass track I ever heard was a song called Our Sunshine by Paul Kelly and Uncle Bill, and it was off his album that he released back in the early 2000s called Smoke. And I heard that and I was like, what is that sound? It's different to a lot of the other, Aussie country things that I've heard. And so as soon as I realised there was a term for that, bluegrass, I really kind of set myself on a bit of a research path when I was only probably about 7 or 8. And I kind of traced it all back to the father of bluegrass, Bill Monroe, and then, come upon Ricky Skaggs and Kentucky Thunder and the Dillards and Jim Lauderdale and Alison Krauss, Union Station, so on and so forth. And look, there's always been something that I've been drawn to about bluegrass. I love how they juxtapose quite a sad lyric with quite upbeat, lively music. And also, like there's a real skill to singing and harmonising and playing bluegrass. Like it's really the type of genre for players. It's kind of for the players.
You're absolutely spot on there. Yeah.
So that's why I've always been drawn to it, because it's really technical when you're getting inside of it. It's really technical, and there's certain expectations, obviously, from bluegrass purists, that if you say you're going to do a bluegrass album, you've got to kind of, meet those expectations, because, certain people do kind of like a half-grass thing, and it's kind of like Americana with a banjo thrown in there, and the purists turn around and go, hey, you can't call that bluegrass. So it's kind of a bold claim to be saying that you're bluegrass if you're doing a bluegrass album. So I actually brought on a group of players that I've used on so many production projects I've produced, for not only for myself but for other artists, and these guys know bluegrass like the back of their hands, and so I didn't even think of anyone else. They were my first go-to people that I decided to have on this project. And I didn't really intend to do a bluegrass album so soon. I always wanted to record a real deal bluegrass album, but I was working with Jim Lauderdale in November of 2019, and him and I wrote over a couple of days, and we wrote a song he cut for a project of his own, and then we wrote Whittling Away the following day. And I rediscovered that last year, kind of in light of COVID and everything happening, and I really connected with the song. And I sent Jim an email and said, look, I'm keen to track this song, but I think it might be a duet. Would you be keen to sing it with me? And he sent me his part about a week later, and then all of a sudden I had this kind of bluegrass album that was just starting to unfold, and I had a few other songs that were kind of taking a more bluegrass approach, even though I intended them to fit into more of an alt country style. And I realised, because I write so many songs for myself and for other people and with other artists, I had a pile of bluegrass songs I'd written from several years ago, or traditional country songs I'd written, and I wrote a few more at the start of this year to kind of round the album out, and then we tracked it, started tracking in January, and I finished mixing the album in April, and the album actually survived the floods we had here on the Mid-North Coast. So we were glad to get something, at all in the end.
Well, you got something, and it is something, and it's something to behold. And I encourage anyone, if you're a music lover, you need to have a listen to this. And I think you nailed it when you mentioned about that it's the style of bluegrass, it's about players and the players, because that's really what it needs. And I think that's been the issue I've had with it in the past, that it's been the token bluegrass. It hasn't been a true bluegrass style and song. And that's what you've done. And I can tell that because there is a lot of care in each and every track of the 11 tracks on the album. Now, I'd love to sit and talk about all of them, but we've got some time issues here. So I'm going to ask about a couple of them. Now, we'll talk about Whittling Away. We've briefly done that, but we'll get into that because that's the track we're going to hear. But there's a couple of that I really want to talk to you about. And I know there's been talk about the lead-off track, Always on the Run, which is just... But I want to skip over that because I want you to tell me about Samson, because I think Samson is absolutely the best track on the album, and it had me.
Really?
Yes, indeed, my friend. And right at the very end, when I heard that, I went, "Oh my God, this is the best song on the album," and I wanted to go back and hear it again. I think Samson, it is songwriting perfection. I really believe that it is a beautiful song, and it's a song that everyone needs to hear. And to be honest with you, I'd rather us play that one than Whittling Away. But we got to do the Whittling Away. But tell me about Samson.
You don't have to do anything. It's your show. You can play whatever you want. But that's really cool to hear, because Samson was the second song that actually formed the album, and I intended it to be a kind of Americana type song, and then I kept playing it over and over, going, no, the way I'm singing and kind of my vocal stylings and how I'm phrasing this, it's actually a bluegrass track, and that song, when I wrote it, it took a while, because I write on my own and I write with other people, and I write with other. Well, if it's an artist for their project, and I'd like to have a hand in it, well, then I write with other people. But I also have a group of close friends and collaborators that I just like to keep in touch with, and sometimes we'll just get on Zoom and talk crap for an hour and then and come up with a song. And it's a great social thing as much as it is a productive time, and I often enjoy getting together to write with people to make up for my rubbish social life, but it also there's also different dynamics in it, and I don't believe songs can be written in a couple of hours through their entirety. Sometimes you can't call a song finished. So I often rewrite things and edit things over and over until they're really right, because there's things that you're so in the moment with what you're doing that you pick up on some little flaws here and there. So it's all about just trying to make sure that you're doing the song justice. And so when I wrote Samson with two of my friends over in Nashville, Bill Luigi and Kirsty Manor, and I didn't really think too much of it at the end. I kind of thought, well, that was for fun. That was an idea I had, and we kind of fleshed out this storyline from that title that I had. And then afterwards, actually, Bill was playing it. He played the song on a couple of Facebook Lives he did, and I heard him, and I was like, oh, yeah, that's pretty cool. And so I went over it and rewrote some of the lyrics just to make it stronger. And then I thought, oh, this is pretty cool. You know, there's a real great story. There's a great sentiment about it, and that's how it ended up on the album.
And it's that sentiment and that journey that you take us on with us that you need to go right to the very end, and it's right at the very end when it just comes together and you think, that is just a masterclass in songwriting and how you put something together. And you can take an idea that many would go, oh, I'm too challenged by that. I think that's for someone else. But you've given them an idea that they can do it. You've given other songwriters confidence that if they get that idea, to follow it through and see where it takes them. And I just love it. I think the song's, and in my opinion, it's the best song on the album. Moving on, though, as we need to. Yep. Very rarely do we get to hear an album put out that's got an a cappella track on it. Why did you decide to do that?
Well, because I was halfway through. I actually wrote that with my same friends that I wrote Samson with.
Yep.
And we wrote this on Australia Day, and we kind of wrote the first chorus, and once again it was a title. I tend to write some titles a lot because there's a certain element of DNA of a strong idea kind of contained within the title, and you've just got to crack it open. And kind of use your knowledge of the craft to be able to turn it into a strong song. But we wrote the first chorus, actually, and then I kind of pulled them up and I said, hey, this could be an a cappella song. And they kind of looked at me and they said, yeah, but you are going to have other instruments on it. And I was like, no, I don't want to pay anyone, you know. So I decided to sit down late one night in the studio and put the vocal track down. I did it in one take. And then after that, I was kind of, you know, just arranging the harmonies, kind of getting a feel for how the song would sit as a completely a cappella song. And to be honest, I didn't really know if it would work. I had this vision and a plan for it, but you don't know until the end. Sometimes you set out with the best intentions on projects and with songs. Sometimes you get to the end and go, no, I've got to pull this apart again. It's like trying to put a puzzle together. But I got to the end of it and I was like, I think I've got something in here. And so I played it to a few people. I called Mum in and to the studio, and she sat there and I looked over at the end of it and she was bawling her eyes out, and I sent it to my publisher and a few other people, and the reaction I was really blown away by, actually. I kind of just thought, you know, this is something I just pieced together, but you know, and I'm really proud. That's actually my favourite song on the album, and I like how it rounds off an album of, you know, I've had some of my favourite people and favourite players play on it, so I really like that, and particularly after the song Heartquakes, which is the fastest track on the album at nearly 300 beats a minute. It's kind of a nice way to end the album.
Yeah. Beautifully sung too, Angus. Beautifully sung.
Thank you.
Jerry Salley, how did you get to meet up with him and record with him and sing with him? And did you actually have a drink to not drinking again with him?
Well, I've been friends with Jerry for several years. He's been a part of previous album projects, and we've caught up several times when I've been overseas. However, we wrote that one as a tribute to our friend Aaron Wilburn, who was a great comedian and songwriter who passed away from COVID last year.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And we also wrote it with a friend of ours, Bill White. So Jerry, Bill and I were on Zoom. We actually wrote that on my birthday, the 5th of Feb this year, as a tribute to Aaron. And you know, Jerry was able to put his part down and send it across the internet. And that was really how that song came about. The title, the hook of the song, "Let's Have a Drink to Not Drinking Again," was actually Aaron's idea, and he passed away before I had a chance to write that song with him. So it was a nice, and it was a great tribute to get Jerry and I singing on the same song. But he's a great guy, very, very talented person.
It's a fun little song too. It's one of the many brilliant tracks. The 11 tracks on this album, and I told you my favourites, and you've told me yours, and it is just great it is a great album, and your talent shines through, and it's. I'm glad that it's done so well for you. But when are you going to get out to start doing some shows? Are you able to do shows? Are you going to be doing shows at Tamworth? What's happening in the future for you?
I will be doing a show at Tamworth. I haven't announced it yet, but that's coming in the next couple of weeks. And also, we have this album tour that obviously was meant to happen now, but due to COVID, it's been pushed back to February next year. So I'll be announcing a whole heap of shows for that very soon. And I can't wait to get out on the road again because it's been a long time in between drinks. And I think probably the last time I did a full festival set was in March. So that was a long time ago. And
wow.
COVID does this weird thing here where, as professional touring acts, we're always playing. We're never kind of... it doesn't matter what breaks we have. We're never off the road for long periods of time, and so it feels foreign to actually have to spend a couple of weeks before actually learning it and re-familiarising ourselves with songs. It's very foreign. So I know that I'm going to have to allocate quite a bit of time before I tour to just familiarise myself with my own songs, which is bizarre.
I can understand that. I was talking to an artist recently who said that he's put on a little COVID kilos, as you could say, and he's been back in the gym because he knows when he meets up with the band, which he hasn't. He said we haven't seen each other for 100+ days. He said they won't recognise me. I'm going to have to shave the beard off. He said I have to do a lot before they get to see me and we get to go through things. So I can understand that. I certainly hope you get across here to SA, Angus, so we can enjoy this music because I want to hear you do Samson live.
I've been trying to keep the COVID kilos off. I think I've succeeded this time around. But I lost about 10 kilos since COVID lockdown that we had last year in New South Wales. So not that I was, I was huge beforehand, but I'm trying to keep up the fitness because when you're touring and you need a lot of energy. So
yeah, absolutely.
You have to take it easy.
Your website is angusgill.com.au, and if you click on the shop section, folks, you can find the album, the scrapbook there, along with some other albums from Angus, and especially his Roadworks T-shirt, which I think that looks like one that I think is quite popular.
Yeah, it is. It is popular. Yeah.
Have a look at it, folks. Angus's Roadworks T-shirt, and when you see it, you'll know what I mean. Well, Angus, it has been great chatting to you. I'm looking forward to getting to see you live and hear you perform Samson. That's what I would like to do, and I'm hoping that'll happen sooner. But it'll probably be next year. But I'm hoping that'll happen. I'm looking forward to that. Good luck with everything, my friend. Hope it all goes well. The album is fantastic. I urge everyone to check it out. You're going to love bluegrass. It'll make a lot of converts out of many people, including myself. Angus, it is great chatting to you. I love talking to you about your music. I'd love to keep going, but we've got to get some music happening for folks. So we'll do the song you've done featuring Jim Lauderdale. It is the single off the album, and we'll do Samson another time, but we've got Whittling Away here ready to go. Thank you so much for spending some time with us today on Flow, and if you could please introduce it for us.
Thanks for having me, Clayton. Always great to chat. This is my brand new single featuring the legendary Jim Lauderdale called Whittling Away.
She's the mantelpiece of the family, always strong for all to see. Raising 3 kids and grandma's fading, keeping up with all their needs. She's whittling away, her nerves are getting frayed. It's like she's got a boulder sitting on her shoulder, carrying the weight, whittling away, and it's breaking her heart, keeping it together while it's falling apart, and she's whittling away.
since he lost her. He's never been the same since then. From multiplying to dividing, soon as it ends he's gonna start again.
He's whittling away, his nerves are getting frayed. It's like he's got a boulder sitting on his shoulder, carrying the weight, whittling away, and it's breaking his heart, keeping it together while it's falling apart. Yeah, he's whittling away. It must have been a lot for them to give up what they had and keep going on.
It's hard to watch them lose their paycheck, spirits low when the hopes are gone.
They're whittling away,
Whittling away.
their nerves are getting frayed.
Nerves are getting frayed.
It's like they got a boulder sitting on his shoulders, carrying the weight, whittling away,
Whittling away.
and it's breaking their hearts.
It's breaking their hearts,
Keeping it together while it's falling apart, and they're whittling